2.
Welcome back to 755 is Real. I'm David O'Brien, Braves writer for The Athletic. I'm with my special co-host today. Eric has some business, personal matters to attend to. So we've got a great fill-in host. You all know him. You love him. Many times former Brave and former Met, Kelly Johnson. Hey, welcome to the show, Kelly. Welcome back.
Glad I could fill in. Yeah, absolutely. Love being here. Happy to do it.
This is good timing too with your rich Braves and Mets history.
Yeah, I know. Dude, good series. I got to go to the game, saw you down there.
Yeah.
But we got to go down there and watch and talk to some people, catch up. Always fun to go down there.
Kelly was down during batting practice, came down to the field, and he had half a team with him. It was his 3 sons. That's a good looking bunch of boys, man. They look like they're getting close to that age where they start becoming serious.
I know.
Athletes.
I know. Yeah, we're there. I think that's younger and younger these days, but it eats up our time. We act like we're in pro sports already. The amount of stuff we do, it's crazy. But we got to go down to the game. 11, 9, and 7. And I got a girl, another 4th that wasn't there, and she'll be 4 soon. So she's keeping us all in line, keeping the boys in check.
Just from a glance, it looked like 2 of them look a lot like you, and one of them looks almost exactly like their mom. The boys.
Yeah,
I thought that's what I thought.
You could say that. You could say, yeah. I mean, pretty close. Yeah.
Well, what did you think? Hey, by the way, are you ever torn, in your allegiances when you're pulling for a team, or is it most guys the team they come up with, the organization they spend their minor league in the most years with? Is that the way it goes?
Yeah, I don't think that it's the same for everybody. I know I know some guys that came up with the Braves that I wouldn't say that they're cheering against them, but they're not cheering for them.
They got traded away or something.
Yeah, maybe they just it's all about I think a little bit of the career and the trajectory but for me, that's the team that raised me, and especially having Snit still around. I mean, it used to be, I go to the park and there's guys in the front office, guys on the field, staff in the locker room running the clubhouse, and they've been there since I was drafted.
Yeah.
Now there's some turnover. There's some guys that have moved on and retired or been let go and all that. But Snit being there, I mean, I had him 2 years in Double-A. I had him, I obviously met him immediately when I was about 18. So, he's like like an uncle, he's the man. So good to see him. I would say anytime you win with a team, you're going to have a certain tight feeling. And we, go to the World Series with a team in New York.
Right.
There's a lot of pretty special memories. I mean, they're lighting the Empire State Building blue and orange, and you're a part of that. It's fun, and there's still a couple guys on that team held over. So, I'm cheering for guys individually, but I'm cheering for the Braves.
Yeah, I would imagine you cheer for guys you played with and became friends with.
Yeah.
With the Braves, you've got Snit, you got Eddie Perez is still around, and you got Freddie, right?
Yeah, there might be a couple others.
In the minor leagues, honestly, you got a few.
Yeah, the minor league guys, and there were some guys that were in spring training. Like Dansby was my locker mate, his first spring training with us. And there's some other guys, but George Poulos is the head trainer, was my trainer in Toronto. Jeff Mathis played with him in Toronto. So there's always that kind of, those blends of where you run across people.
Well, what did you think of this? You were at the 20 hit game. You were there, right?
I was at the first one against Pittsburgh, but no, I missed this one. I was the one before the Mets came back and stole a game, and then the next day is when the Braves exploded.
Oh, by the way, for anybody wondering why the hell Kelly's got a fire going, it's because he's not in 90-degree, humid, rainy Atlanta. He's in the North Carolina mountains where he has a house. Where are you, Kelly?
Highlands, North Carolina. We're doing a fireside chat. Just wanted to class this thing up a little bit. EOF's always in his basement looking like he's in a dungeon down there.
With his
bare dark,
walls.
So we're just thought I'd mix it up. Cam was sitting there watching me, find the place. I'm like, I'm going to go over here by this fire. I'm gonna go get this fire. This thing started up right, right when we started.
It's kind
Couldn't
of
have timed it any better.
bucolic. It's kind of easy. It's you kind of relax and want to confide stuff. So
I just need a bourbon sitting right here, and I'm ready
Oh,
to
you don't
rock.
have one? Now let me put mine away.
It's still early.
So what did you think of and what can it do? I know it's just one game and people get carried away with one game, but Ozzy and was among those who said, that a game like the one they had Wednesday could turn everything around. It was unbelievably, it was the second 20-run game of the season for the Braves, which they've never done in their history, and they did it in the first half. But what kind of game like that, 20 runs, 20 hits against the first place team in your division? Yeah. What can it do for a team that had been in such a malaise? They had scored 25 runs in their previous 11 games combined, and then all of a sudden you get 20 hits and 20 runs.
It can change a season. I'll give you a quick little bit story. Just we're talking about me being with the Mets. The first year I got traded over there in 2015. It was closer to the deadline, so we're talking another 4 weeks from now. But first game, Uribe and I show up, and the first game's against the Dodgers. We were there, certainly not the kind of firepower that you're thinking when you're trying to like really amp up an offense, but we were there to help and bring that up a little bit. The team couldn't score any runs, similar of a Mets team that we're seeing this year. And we put on 15 and beat the Dodgers by like 10, 12 runs in the first game. Uribe hit a walk-off maybe in the next game. And from there, it went from third place, shot up and won that division. And I say that just to kind of bring out what the obvious here is, that the Braves are in third place. They're not the offense that we know and love, and they need to find it. And to get that kind of output in a game against the team that is in first place, even if it is early July or late June, that it's just something we need to see this offense get back to what we know, and that's something that can absolutely start it. And I think Ozzy's hit the nail dead on, and I think you see it carry over into last night's game. Remember the last time I was on with you guys, we talked about Freddie, and I said I don't expect him to be Freddie from last year, MVP Freddie, and finish at 330. I expect him to finish about where his career number is, and I want him to be Freddie when we need him to be Freddie. And even though it took a little bit of a fortunate bounce, that's the kind of thing that we're used to seeing from him.
Yeah, and he's hit so many balls hard this year that he didn't get a bounce on it that went right to somebody. So it's almost like he was due something like that to happen. So we'll get to that play in just a second. The game that Ozzy had in that 20 hit game goes 5 for 6 with 2 homers, 7 RBIs, 4 runs. He was the first Atlanta Brave. I mean, you consider all the players who played here, from Bob Horner and Murph to Hank, of course, the second half of his career, Chipper, Andrew, on and on, Acuna. Freddie, nobody had ever had in one game in the Braves era since '66 as many as 5 hits, 4 RBIs, 2 homers, or 7 RBIs, 2 homers and 4 runs in a single game. And I know it's one of those where it's a lot of different numbers, but still, tells you how impressive it is to have a game like that, how rare it is. And this is from a guy that's 5'7" and about 170 pounds.
And he's getting hosed. And the fact that he didn't get voted as a starter for the All-Star game blows my mind. I feel like that's something it's just unfortunate, but obviously voting and all that takes over. But Ozzy's been a stud. He's been a stud, just especially in the near time. He's just been killing it. I mean, he's barreling balls. He's having great at bats.
29 RBIs in June.
That's silly. That's silly. He's walking up to the plate and getting to go up there and watch the guys play and watch guys. You get to see a little more of those when the camera is not on them. And Ozzy, that's as cool and as confident and with as much confidence that I've ever seen him walk up to the dish. The guys in the zone, and that's what you need. You need guys to step up. Acuna, Marcel's out, and guys have been scuffling, but the Braves still have 4 guys in the 800, 830 OPS and up. I mean, that's half your lineup that's really doing some damage. And so for him to step up's been huge.
Yeah, I mean, and we know what Freddie's obviously one of the best hitters in baseball. Acuna's phenomenal. And then you see what Riley can do last night, which hardly anybody in baseball can do what he did on that home run. When you consider Albies, that's half your lineup, like you say.
Yeah.
I think if they could add a bat before the deadline, if they could add a bat soon, this could really be a powerful offense again. It is right now. On some nights, it's as good as any offense in baseball. So, have you ever seen a hitter as pound for pound strong as Ozzie Albies is? Have you ever played with any guys like that? That were under 200 pounds that could do that?
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, I think that's the beautiful thing about baseball. You don't have to be
Like
huge anymore. I mean,
Judge.
I should say anymore. Now with the way that guys train and their
Yeah.
The baseball specific exercises and all that. I mean, Ozzie's a strong dude. I mean, is he stronger than Pedroia? I mean, you're picking at, is he stronger? Ichiro's wasn't 200 pounds by any means.
Yeah.
He didn't hit all the homers Ozzie hits, but he had that power.
Yeah.
And certainly Mookie Betts probably leads the charge there. But baseball is a beautiful thing when you look at it from that angle, that you see these Altuves and Aussies and
standing next to the judges.
Yeah. Makes you shake your head a little bit, but that's why it's kind of the everyman sport, and you see you don't have to excuse me, you don't have to be the giant, but Aussie's I just love where he's at right now. I love it. I love watching the guy play. He's automatic at second. He's everything. He's everything. He could be a guy that carries his team into the first place if that happens.
And if he ever gets, the other side as a switch hitter, even close to what he is against lefties, I mean, Smith thinks he's as good as there is in baseball against lefties. And it's hard to argue when you look at his numbers. I mean, but a lot of people don't understand why he doesn't just shuck switch hitting, and they don't realize you can't just stop hitting from that one side and expect to hit that way from one side as well as you do. You know what I mean? How hard it is for people when you start at 16, when you've never faced,
I have nothing to offer in this conversation, but I would say I would love to hear guys like Chipper, other switch hitters talk about that, or guys. There's been a few like Shane Victorino kind of shut it down for, through injury, and then
Injuries.
the kid in Baltimore is only hitting left-handed now, I believe, right? Mullins, and he's obviously doing pretty good. So guys do it. I'd say for a guy like Mullins, if he's going to just pick lefty and stick with lefty, that's an advantage. Obviously, you're facing way more right-handed pitchers, but from a natural righty standpoint, Victorino, Aaron Hicks, these guys that have had to do that. I just love to hear what they have to say about that. If it's as hard as we think it could be, or if it maybe not a big deal. I don't know. There's got to be a reason they don't do it.
Yeah. Beyond the huge game that he had in the month that he had, this guy leads the NL now with 57 RBIs. I think a lot of people don't realize that. To your point, that he should be on the All-Star team. Frazier, it's not like it was just an egregious error in the fan voting, because Frazier's having a hell of a year too, and he's actually got like a 140 OPS plus. But I agree, the guy who's leading the league in RBIs and second in the league in extra base hits, one behind Castellanos, I think that deserves to be a starter. But we know he'll be
He'll be there.
So
he'll be there. Oh yeah, he's gonna be there. It's always fun to represent and have. Would have been cool. Would have been cool to have the three Braves. Yeah, 100%.
But by the same token, Braves fans, if they're going to say that, they have to understand that Muncy deserved to start over Freddie. I mean, so
true.
So Freddie's being rewarded for the career he's having and the consistency that he's had and the popularity and all that. So what goes around, all that kind of thing. So there was some years Freddie deserved to be on there or starting when you didn't. So he started 3 in a row now. And that's just when you get to that station where Freddie is, as long as you're still good, you're going to probably keep getting voted unless somebody just overwhelms,
Absolutely.
And Muncy's only played like less than 50 games at first base as well. So I think that also hurts him.
So we're not going to see another Rafael Palmeiro,
No, we're not going to winning a gold glove as a first baseman when he was a DH.
4 games at first. He won the gold glove.
So Ozzie, by the way, is on pace for 115 ribbies and 87 extra base hits. the relevance of that, how important that is, or how impressive that is, consider this. Chipper Jones holds the franchise record with 87 extra base hits. He's on pace to match Chipper's record. That was 99 when Chipper had the monster year and won the MVP. And no Braves primary middle infielder, and that's a lot of pretty damn good players. No Braves who's played at least 75% of the games in the middle infield has driven in 100 runs in a season. He's on pace for 115. That's kind of year the guy's having, man.
That's a special year. I mean,
in a year when offense has been down, for the most part.
Well, for fun, we can do hypotheticals. What in the world do we think happens if he finishes the year projected with where he's at now with all those numbers you just talked about? Or is he an MVP? Does he beat out these other guys?
If he gets his average up, his OBP up some, he could be in the talk, in the discussion for sure.
I mean, there's some other guys doing well.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at the total picture of being a middle infielder.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's going to have stolen bases. He's going to score high. He's going to have more runs.
You know what's going to kill him? Having Acuna and Freddie on the team is what's going to kill him, because that splits votes and people look at it and go, yeah, but he didn't have to carry the team and all that. So that'll hurt him.
Well, but you got Castellanos and Winker doing the same thing to each other.
Tatis would Tatis or DeGrom, I think right now would win it, even though I'm not a guy that votes for pitchers usually with the season DeGrom is having. But if he has a couple more nights like the Braves handed him, we'll see.
And then how fun would it be if it came down to the wire and we didn't even talk about this other guy, if it was a Trey Turner, Ozzie Albies MVP discussion?
Yeah. Trey Turner's having a hell of a year, man.
That would be a fun one to talk about.
Year. And how about this? How about the month that Schwarber had? He's going to end up getting player of the month ahead of Albies and a few others. He's just been on fire.
So Schwarber just
ridiculous.
What's cool about the Schwarber here is that obviously I had Kevin Long as a hitting coach with the Yankees. I had him with the Mets. And watching Schwarber, it's completely obvious what's going on. And that K Long's big thing, he's got, for those that are listening, Robinson Cano is basically a Kevin Long. That's who that's their guy. Like that's who were Cano when he was the guy for 9 years. He was one of the best hitters in baseball.
Right.
Drills that they would do, they'd put a screen up on the plate and Cano would get in real tight so that, to swing the bat with the screen there and not hit the screen, you got to keep real tight in here, real strong, short. So that was a drill these guys would do on the field. They do it, 3 or 4 times a week. They would get up on the plate, make everything middle end, keep this nice and short, hit the bottom of the ball, stay up the middle, right center-ish for a left-handed hitter. So we saw Cano take off. Daniel Murphy, very similar, had he had a half where he was so-so. He was trying to figure this thing out, and then he exploded. All those home runs in the postseason, changed his career. If you look at he went to Washington, you look at his numbers, just taking what he had gotten from Kevin. Schwarber comes over, big, strong dude, great eye, great hitter, really, but he was in a little bit of a funk. His average was down, striking out, a little long, and he gets with Kevin. Next thing you know, if you're looking at all these home runs, he's up on the dish, and there's every single one of them. The arms are in here, and it looks like a gator arm. We're not, a gator arm in a sense of getting tied up. Means you're going from long to short, and then you're tied up. But if you're always short in here and you're strong and you've got that grooved, you're dangerous. And that's where these home runs are coming from. And, I'll say it clicked for me for about a month with Kevin, and I hit like 7, 6, 7, 8 home runs, not playing every day in about a 6-week span or so. And when you're feeling really good, I mean, it's like no pitch can get in on you. You've taken basically the whole plate and making it inside. And when you're feeling good and you got that grooved, I mean, it's special. Curtis Granderson, another guy who took that approach. He had a huge career. I mean, if you look at him, this guy, he was hitting 20, 30 home runs. He would hit 20 triples. Even in Toronto, when he was 30 something years old, he hit, he had a huge streak where he got hot and had like a 7 RBI game or something. But anyway, yeah, that with Schwarber, looking at him and seeing what he's doing, I hope he can keep this going, and it's just a career changer for him. Not as a Braves fan, I don't, but as a, just as a baseball guy, I like seeing. Hey, that's a good point. I like seeing when these guys figure it out and really tap into the potential and all that they have that God, has blessed them with, and he's got the power, and you're seeing it now.
He keeps this up, he's not going to have to settle for a 1-year deal this time.
Oh, that ain't happening. No, because the thing about Schwarber, most people just that watch the games, the World Series, especially, was with the Cubs. The dude's a clubhouse. I mean, he's like the star.
Yeah.
He's a guy you want. You need those guys. Everybody loves him. So you're not just paying for a bat. He's worked hard at defense, but if he's just a bat, he's a clubhouse guy.
Yeah.
Huge clubhouse guy. He's a presence, and that's the kind of guy. So you're getting a lot more than just a left-handed stick.
You're right, though. Every one of his home runs looks the same. Such a short swing, and that bat it looks like a little toothpick in his hands. He's so quick with that bat, man. He just God, yeah, they're impressive. These home runs he's hitting. He's like, wow, where is this? I remember when he came back, when he missed most of that year with the Cubs and came back for the playoffs, and he was just like, oh my God, this Schwarber's back. And you could tell everybody loved the guy, beyond him being what he was doing on the field.
Absolutely.
So by the way, the only asterisk on the Albies night, and it won't go down as an asterisk, nobody's going to care because it's hardly like he's the first guy to hit a home run off a position player, but Almora came in. Almora came in. Why would you let a guy like Almora throw? If you're going to go to, I hate position players pitching, by the way, I hate it, but I understand when some teams do it, when they got grueling schedule coming up, doubleheaders and all that, but I hate it. And Almora came in and looked like he was just tossing the batting practice, going, here, see how far you can hit it. It was no chance he was going to get him out.
Right.
And he just sit there and just,
Well, so there's a couple things there. I mean, we've seen that game that they beat Pittsburgh. We had Diffo come in and pitch for Pittsburgh, and he was throwing like 88.
Yeah.
I mean, he was bringing it, but he was still getting ripped.
Yeah.
Now, I've been on a team. First of all, I've been asked probably 3 or 4 times if I could pitch in my career, and I was a heck no every time, because my biggest fear was I threw too pretty of a ball. I was gonna get hit, and I was like, no, it ain't happening. So I would always say no. But when I was with the Yankees, Joe Girardi had a kid named Dean. First name was Dean. I'm forgetting his last name off the top of my head. And he told him that he was going to pitch. And he said, if you break 65 miles an hour, you're out, and you might not see us again.
So basically under the hitting speed. So
you might hear that from Almora. He's a good defensive player. He's a big part of that team.
Right.
So that might have been a factor. The manager may have said, you better not throw.
Well, I mean, not to take a cheap shot at him, but dude, he's hitting like a pitcher this year. It's unbelievable how bad he's been. It's unbelievable how bad he's been. But so by the 20 runs that the Braves had, like I said, were 5 fewer than they had in the previous 11 games combined. They had averaged 2.27 runs that stretch, worse than the majors for that particular stretch, a couple of weeks. And a big thing, I know a lot of people think runners in scoring position, a lot of metric analytics people will argue that hitting with runners in scoring position is totally random, which I think most people in the game disagree. That they think there are some hitters who can hit with runners and some that just do it better than others. They went 9 for 15 with runners in scoring position in that game Wednesday. They had been 9 for 61 in the previous 11 games. So I think there's where it can really turn you around when you have a game like that, where a lot of people get some hits with runners in scoring position and feel better about everything. They're not waiting for failure, like they had been during that stretch where they got one hit every night with runners or none. But what's your stance? What as a hitter, as a former big leaguer, why are there some guys that are so much better hitters with runners in scoring position? Like some good hitters hit better in those situations than their overall average, and some pretty decent hitters can't hit at all with runners in scoring position for long stretches.
No doubt. First of all, absolutely hitting with runners in scoring position is a skill. You can work at it. Some guys are born with it. I can actually remember
clutch player.
Spring training, whatever Freddie Freeman's, let's see, him and Hayward were 2010. So 2009, they started coming over from the minor leagues to help play some games. And we sat in West Palm playing the Cardinals, went down there for that 2-game trip. And in Snit, specifically, when Freeman comes up, he goes, man, this kid with runners in scoring position, there's nothing like it. He's like, I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but in a way it was sort of a Hayward Freeman conversation.
Right.
And his point was how good Freddie is. And he was only 20.
Right.
How good he was with runners in scoring position. And some guys have that ability. They focus in, they lock in, and can block out the pressure of it, or maybe it's the pressure that they want, but they lock in on these at bats, and when they get that pitch, they don't miss it. Now, some guys, they feel it. Oh man, there's someone out there. I gotta, and next thing you know, they're missing a pitch and they're swinging at balls. They feel that pressure and it works against them. So you can't tell me that it's not a skill. And it can certainly, the mindset of being a hitter in those situations can be developed and worked on over time, experience, but guys are born with that and they're freaks. I mean, they're guys that can do that out of bed, like Freddie. Francoeur was really good at it. He was awful with bases loaded, but with the standard runners in scoring position, Jeff had a knack of getting a hit with guys out there. And that's why he drove in 100 runs a couple times. And I mean, there's no argument for me.
Yeah.
You throw all the numbers you want of metrics or whatever, they're random. I don't care. If you can't, so the year with the Mets, we went on that tear, and we were living and dying by 3-run homer, 2-run by home runs. We get to World Series, and all of a sudden you got some guys throwing 95, 97. One of the elite teams, obviously, they're pitching, and we couldn't get a runner in. We had to hit a homer, or you know what I mean? It was just
hard to do in the postseason.
Deflating. It's very hard. It's deflating to know that you are only way you're going to score is if you hit homers. And that's kind of where we're at with this game. Now it's kind of strikeout. I mean, out at that game, the one that I went to, I was shaking my head. It's just like every strikeout. It's not just a strikeout, a walk, home run. Now it's a 3-pitch strikeout.
Right.
It's strike 1, strike 2, strike 3. You're done.
Yeah.
And it's like not even a competitive at bat sometimes. And that's hard. It's hard to quantify maybe the RBI, but I mean, how about working pitchers, getting a guy up in 50 pitches into the, in the second or third inning, and those kinds of things. So
I think to me, the argument that when I hear, and I'm not trying to insult anybody or sound like I know anything more than other people, but it seems like the argument that runners in scoring position hitting with is random, or making a clutch 3-pointer is random. It's only the sign of a good shooter, period. To dismiss that, which analytics, I think, is the only, I think analytics are invaluable for the game, but the only hole in them is those who don't also recognize the human element in sports. Just like the human element and being able to go on a stage and act or recite a speech, there is performance anxiety. And to not acknowledge that is to say that you haven't talked to people who've done it before, or you haven't tried it yourself, because there is performance anxiety, and some people don't feel that. And they are the freaks you're talking about. I mean, you can't tell me that some guys can't shoot better with the game on the line in an NBA game in a crowd, or a college game and 20,000 people cheering, going crazy, than other people, regardless of how good a shooter they are. There are still some who shoot as good or better in those situations than they do in a normal set, and others who might be good shooters otherwise in an empty gym or in a normal game or what, but don't give them the ball with 2 seconds left in the game down by 1. Man. They don't want it. They want to pass it because they know they're not, to ignore that or just dismiss it. It just comes from people who have not done it, or they don't listen to people who've done it, and they don't just accept the human element that there is. Because analytics can't explain the human element in sports. And it's huge. It's huge. So
agree with everything you said.
Yeah. The Ronald Acuna in that game, by the way, he was one. They had 6 Braves had multi-hit games, and he wasn't one of them. But he had his 23rd career leadoff homer. He got the whole thing started because the amazing thing was they gave up 2 runs in the first inning on a Alonso homer.
Yep.
And then they scored 20 unanswered runs after that, and Ronald Acuna got it started. And O'Flaherty's talked about this. He's still amazed that anybody throws Ronald Acuna a hittable fast pitch or hittable fastball to lead off a game on the first pitch, because the guy is up there hacking. He is never looking, and he leads off that game with his 23rd career leadoff homer. He extended his own franchise record. The previous record was like 18 by Philippe, one of the Alous, Philippe, I think, and it was over a span of 3 times longer than what Acuna's done it. So the guy's amazing. But
he is.
Cam, speaking of Acuna, I think you had something you wanted to talk about his special tops card, right?
Yeah, as we've talked about on the last handful of 755 is real. Tops and Top 70 is our sponsor. They have done a fantastic job working with us. And more than that, they have done a phenomenal job pairing up with some of the greatest artists, some of the best overall illustrators in the world, including Mr. Tyson Beck, who, as you see here, released this wicked awesome Ronald Acuna Jr. card based off a 2000 model, year 2000 Topps baseball card. Cool. So it's a card that was released about 2 days ago. It ends in 2 days, meaning you guys have about 48-ish hours to purchase this card before it is gone for good. But just to talk about Mr. Tyson Beck and how he's been able to play into this, he's one of the preeminent artists for all athletes sporting cards. He's followed by Devonta Smith, the Alabama draftee, who's playing for the Philadelphia Eagles right now. He's also followed by CJ McCollum. He's created some divine cards that look amazing, as you see here from Ronald's card. And, we have somebody here, David, that we can tap into in terms of baseball card experience, and Kelly. And Kelly, can you reminisce about seeing your first baseball card, and what was it like, some of the emotions and the sentiments that came with it?
Yeah. First of all, that card is awesome.
Yeah,
I mean,
pretty cool.
baseball cards have made a huge comeback here. It's kind of cool to see. My kids are all into it. I got buddies starting card companies, and it's crazy. But so the first card I can remember was just a just minors. I was 18, and there was a picture of me, getting ready to hit in the Gulf Coast League straight out of high school. And but to get and see, your first baseball card as an 80s, 90s kid, where baseball cards were huge, and going to the card shop with your, $5 or whatever you had, riding the bike up there to do that was pretty neat. Can't really put into words what that feels like. And obviously, as you climb the ladder and you get your rookie card and you actually get to a major league card and all that, and you're part of those sets, it's nothing like it. It really isn't.
No, and it seems like your card was significantly better than Eric's. Eric told David and I off air that the very first card of him that he saw was just the back of his head, and I think it just said the back of the jersey.
They showed his better side.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of better sides, there are some other cuts for this top 70 Ronald Acuna Jr. card. You have a gold foil card, as you can see along the edges. This one is gold. There is a rainbow edition card as well, including a silver edition artist label card. So there are some different unique and rarities for this Ronald Acuna Jr. card. Remember, this card is up for another 48 hours. Make sure to check out Topps.com and also see the list of the remaining cards that they have out. And I also think there's going to be a Hank Aaron card that comes out soon too. So we're going to have to take a look at that as well. But Ronald Acuna Jr., guys, all-star.
Look at the swag that comes through on that. The guy Tyson Beck perfectly that's his name, right? Tyson Beck?
Yep.
He perfectly captured the Acuna swagger on that with that expression that he has. I mean, Kelly, can you imagine being born with the kind of swagger that this guy oozes naturally? Because it doesn't come across as forced ever with Acuna.
First of all, I mean, how many people are born with the talents that guy's got? I mean, you're talking about a small handful ever in the history of baseball that have been able to walk on a field with, like, knowing what they can do and how much better they are than everyone else. So I think that confidence just comes with that, man. the yellow, I've noticed, it's gotten increasingly
It's
more.
he's
Like
he's
now it's
making
in the
that an extra
shoes.
primary color with the Braves uniform.
I actually love it.
It looks good, man.
It's in the tomahawk, so it's in there, and he just pulled
Exactly.
it out.
That's the
And,
difference. It's not like neon
yeah,
green or pink.
the
It goes with
first
the
first
uni.
guy, Evan Longoria, did that with Tampa back when, on the Rays, the sunburst or the starburst on the Rays uniform, and he pulled it and had the yellow batting gloves, and I thought it's a cool touch.
Somebody did that with the Seattle Seahawks because they've got that neon green, and it was just a little tiny bit of it somewhere in one of their logos or in maybe one uniform. And a couple of the players started putting it like on shoes and everything. Before you know it, it became one of the primary colors in their unis. But that's the way it got started. I mean, the Braves could do a lot worse than add this kind of yellow that he's doing to.
I think the Rays did a yellow spring training jersey or something, or they did some kind of yellow shirt. I mean, I can see the Braves doing that, like a yellow.
Yeah, it looks good. I think what Acuna does, and the yellow shoes he wears and all that.
Yeah, it's great. It's crazy.
It looks good, but it never forced. And I think it'd be different if he did some of the things he does, some of the antics or whatever you want to call them, coming around the bases, rocking the baby, which he did after he became a dad, doing the stutter step. If it looked forced or like he was mocking the other team, I think people would have a problem with it. But to me, it never looks like he's mocking the other team.
No, I think these guys these days have got it.
Man.
They've got it. I think these guys these days have it down where it's not mocking. It's not, trash talking. It truly is just something extra that they're bringing. And, I would have never thought that I could watch the game and watch all the antics. Cause I mean, there's too many games. There's too many at bats. You're going to do something like that. You better be ready for an 0 for 20 with 10 strikeouts, and it's coming your way. But these guys have been able to kind of do it. The only ones I can't stand are the ones that happen between home and first.
Yeah.
I don't love selfies and bat flips and but I don't mind the
scowling at
jog.
the pitcher for no reason or whatever.
Yeah, man, that's the kind of stuff that to me shows up the pitcher and the other team. But once, that rounding third, that's kind of a little, there's always been the play with the third baseman where like the fake handoff or the, some kind of high five. There's always been some stuff with the third baseman that's all right. I don't mind all that stuff.
Let me ask you a guy that does rub some people the wrong way, Josh Donaldson. And having covered him for a year, I can tell you, I loved having Josh Donaldson on the team because he's so interesting and he's never boring. And he puts his money where his mouth is. I mean, he with the Braves, he had a hell of a year, man. He was phenomenal, and they kept him healthy. The guys you mentioned, the training staff from Toronto is here now, and they know how to keep the guy healthy. They know his body, and they kept him on the field. And we saw what he can do when he plays 150 games because he was phenomenal that year. But Josh doesn't give a shit what people think, and he doesn't care if people don't like him. And I think if you're going to have that kind of an attitude, then you can't care and you can't let it affect you. So I don't have a problem with what he does, but he did the thing the other day coming across. He hits the home run off Giolito. And as he's coming from third to home, he does his hands. He's going, it's not sticky anymore. It's not sticky, He said he's telling his dugout because he's looking at his dugout. If you look at the video, he's not looking at Giolito going, it's not like he is looking at his dugout, but Giolito saw the video later, or somebody told him and then he saw the video. Giolito pops off after the game about how I think it was Bush League. I think if he wants to say something, he should say it to my face and all this and blah, blah, blah. He says that on the Zoom call after the game, right? Lucas Giolito obviously doesn't know Josh Donaldson in his background because you do not pop off about Josh Donaldson.
Don't challenge him.
JD got wind of it, saw the Zoom as players can do. Some of the Zooms are live, and if they're not, somebody's going to let you know immediately. Just do what Giolito said, that if you're going to pop off, do it to his face. So what does JD do? Goes out in the players' parking lot, waits for Giolito, and says to him basically, all right, I'm saying it to your face. Who knows what he said? Knowing Josh, I can imagine what he said. But so Josh then tells the team, hey, I want to do a Zoom call the next day before the game. He says, he's responding to what Giolito had said. And he said, Yeah, he said he wants me to, if I want to say something, say it to his face. Well, I did. I want you to know I did say it to his face. I waited for him in the parking lot, told him, and let's just say he didn't have much to say after that.
Oh man. Yeah. Hey, I mean,
Eric
honestly,
loved Josh. He played with him in Oakland,
yeah,
loved him.
yeah. Guys do like him. He seems like he's one of those guys, like I was talking about Schwarber, when you got to have long season, we're around
Yeah.
each other all the time. If you don't have guys like that make it fun, like randomly throughout the course of the year, personalities, makes for a long year. But
yeah,
I mean, and Trevor Bauer's in the news right now for the wrong kind of thing, but that's another guy. I mean,
yeah,
he's got no one to answer to, but himself, and he knows it, and he says whatever, and he's always rubbed me the wrong way with all his stuff. But when you start to realize, like, well, he's pretty consistent,
right.
And he's really unapologetic, and he's just him. How
Yeah.
how does that bother you? I don't know how it can bother you if someone's authentically being themselves and it's them every day. The problem is when it's fake.
When it's
forced,
when it's fake tough guy or
played
whatever.
with guys like that 100%, played against guys that way. All of a sudden they're tough and they're fake, and it's a big show,
right?
100%.
You could tell the guys that are faking it, the guys that are.
It stands out so bad. I mean, so bad.
Well,
so I don't know.
I like the guys that it could be a lot easier if they would not say those things. They can make it easy on themselves if they would shut up and not be themselves, or not be arrogant, or they could just do that and be like everybody else and go through the game and their career and not rub anybody the wrong way. But I like those few isolated guys that don't care and they want to be themselves, and that's themselves. So, Josh Donaldson is being himself.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't dress like other people. He doesn't act like other people. And I like
for me, that was not my personality, but if I felt like I did anything outside of my personality, that it was going to come back and get me. So if it was be a Johnny tough guy, or, pimp a ball or do something, I felt like it was so out of character that it was going to come back and get me. And that's the thing. That's the only issue. You're going to break the unwritten rules. It's the unwritten rules really come down to being yourself in a way and respecting everybody. And if you kind of get outside that, the game will get you. It'll come back and get you. And that's why a lot of times these unwritten rules get enforced, because guys that have been around can sit there and be like, hey man, like, this is why you need to do this, because this game's got a way of coming back and getting your ass, and you're going to feel it. And I'll give you an example. Pete Alonso, I don't know him at all, but he was huge social media presence back when he was coming onto the scene with all those home runs. Huge. Yeah. And I mean, I heard to an extent where it was a little over the top.
Uh-huh.
He had a terrible season last year.
Yeah.
And he just was like off of Instagram, off of Twitter. I'm done with it. I'm done with it.
Down.
And it's like, that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like, you're going outside of who you are to an extent, and now it's not working. But if you are Donaldson or Bauer, and you can live through the peaks and the valleys, and you never change, and that's just you, by all means, that's you. Do it. But that's my take on those. I mean, Flaherty and I used to have these conversations in the clubhouse all the time, just on young guys and rookies and rules and all this. And it wasn't even an unwritten rule. I think we even wrote it down in the training room with Phil Falco's office once upon a time. It was like, rule number 1, don't be a douche. That was rule number 1. Just like, if you could stick to that, you'll be all right.
The rest of it will fall in line if you just don't be a douche. All I can say is Giolito obviously does not know Josh Donaldson, because he would not have said that on camera if he'd known him. He doesn't know his background.
He didn't expect to get confronted face to face. And that's the thing. That's the thing about most of these guys.
Coming.
Josh
was not going to let that slide.
A lot of the social media, personalities aren't used to the face to face, are they? They like the screen.
As Eric said to me in a text, because he texted me that night after he saw what JD had said, he said, they don't have Josh Donaldson at Harvard Westlake, where Giolito went with.
No.
There would be a no contest there if it came to blows. So say Giolito better bring an army of teammates, because Donaldson is a badass, man. I mean, he came from a rough background. So anyway, Albie's in that game. Albies at the end adds 3 more RBIs, gets to 7. Braves come off that the next night. Braves fans I know are a little wary of the team because every time like they get to 500, they lose like 3 or 4 games in a row. And every time they have a big game like that, you think they've turned a corner, then they follow it up and lay an egg. So for them to come back the next night, because I know a lot of people were like, save some of those runs. You're facing DeGrom tomorrow. Everybody's like, or others were saying, and I know because I read it, they're saying, good thing they won that game, that second game of the series, because if they hadn't, they'd get swept because they're facing DeGrom tomorrow. Yeah. And so then I thought that's why it was so big to come out the next night, last night, Thursday night, and get 3 runs in the first inning off DeGrom, which nobody has had 3 earned runs off of him all season in an entire game. Yeah. And nobody had scored a run in the first inning off of him or scored an earned run on the road all year against the guy, any inning. Yep. So that was huge what they did against him in the first inning. I thought they had a great plan. They came out and aggressive, jumped right on him, man. I don't know if most teams don't do that or if he was just, it took him a while to get into a groove. But that was impressive first inning.
No doubt. I mean, listen, every scouting hitters meeting I've ever been a part of, when you're going against the DeGroms, the Scherzers, the Verlanders, on and on, Kershaw, all the aces. Yeah. It's get to them early, and it's like one of those cliches. It's like, what does that mean? Like I'm not going up trying to get them at all times. I'm trying to get them early. I'm trying to get them late. Like these guys are nasty, but get them when you have the opportunity to get them should be really what it is. And the Braves had the opportunity to get a couple runs there with a couple guys on base. And then obviously Riley took care of that with one swing. So, I would say, Jacob, the guy's a freak. He obviously doesn't make many mistakes. And when he does, it's 100 miles an hour or it's a 93-mile-an-hour slider or, just filth. Well, he's not immune to the occasional somebody getting him. So, it's due. I mean, it wasn't necessarily anything in particular of, Riley having a good at bat or, big, strong kid ran into a mistake and hit it a long ways. And Jacob finished that game out with 14 strikeouts.
He was amazing after he flipped the switch after the 2 hits in the second inning.
Clearly it's not as if he was battling or,
he didn't give up.
Not having his best stuff.
Yeah.
Well, so
it's more credit to the Braves than a discredit to him, I thought.
Zero discredit to him. And it's credit absolutely to get those runs. And then Ian Anderson deserves some credit.
Oh my God. He
for how he pitched
with him. Yeah.
And obviously, it was a great game. Smith hitting a homer in the 9th. And then we didn't talk about that play yet.
Did you think he had a chance to get to third for the force?
Yeah. Oh, there's 100, no question. Now I will say in the moment,
game's fast, isn't it?
You keep in mind it's a fact. Yeah, you're shifted. He's a little out of position. He's a shortstop, so he's a shortstop third baseman, but he's still out of position.
Right.
And it's still a reactionary play. I kind of think that if you 10 different third basemen get that same opportunity, I bet you 8 of them step on the base.
Right.
So I do think he made a mistake. I will give him the benefit of the doubt. It's not easy, but I do think guys typically would have the awareness to step on the base.
And when he watched the video, he probably went, "Oh God, I didn't realize it was that close." That Acuna,
Seth Lugo's going nuts.
Right.
I mean,
he's going.
One thing
he was.
What's kind of nuts is that he didn't hear Lugo yelling at him. That somebody, you got the whole dugout is right there. They're probably yelling. Lugo's yelling. You would think that something would have clicked and he would have, but I think he absolutely could have stepped on.
Nice to have a big crowd, loud crowd.
Hey man, those things when streaks start and moves are made in the standings, things like that start bouncing your way. So hopefully that's the beginning.
And I thought Acuna looked like he was kind of going. He was going to go a little wide, maybe to avoid a tag if it happened, because it looked like he was kind of coming in.
He should have been, yeah.
Yeah, and I thought, so he probably didn't realize, and maybe he was thinking Acuna as fast as he is, because he's fast, man. Maybe he's thinking that too, but I don't know. I bet when he looked at that video, though, he went, "Oh God, I could have got him," because he had no chance to get Freddie, because Freddie was hauling ass out of the box If Freddie's
I
not
mean,
running out of the box, maybe he does have a chance.
but you have to remember, had he thought that through better, he wouldn't have come in barehanding and then
Right.
running to third. He would have
Right.
broke down, fielded it, and taken about 2-3 steps to
Yeah.
the bag.
Yeah.
So, woulda, coulda, shoulda. I mean, we're not immune. Nobody's immune to stuff like that. But it's a break for the Braves,
Yeah.
break for Freddie. All things that can be monster season changers.
Yeah. And for Freddie, I mean, talk about getting he said he wanted a chance so bad after he'd struck out 4 times, left 5 guys on base. Charlie, it was Max Fried bobblehead night. He wanted Charlie said, we got to win on Max Fried bobblehead night because he lost Max Fried. So for Freddie to come up, it's just poetry, man. For him to come up after striking out 4 times, which he's never had a 5 strikeout game in his career, and he hadn't had many 4s. To be 0 for 4 with 4 Ks, and he comes up. And that at bat Ender Inciarte, for the guy that gets beat up so much by critics on social media and us, the media, for him to come up and work that walk after being down 0-2, that was
Incredible.
impressive. That
Incredible.
was impressive, man.
Yeah,
Ender kept that
those
alive.
things. Those are the kind of things, man. The teams that win it, that's what they do. Battle to do those at bats.
On that Riley homer, though, man, I looked at the replay on that. That was 100 mile an hour on the black. And I don't think there's 5 other hitters in baseball that could hit that thing out the way he did opposite field down the line like that.
You're probably right. I mean,
he's strong as a bull, man. That dude is, God, he's strong.
He's Troy Glaus. He's Troy Glaus. He really is. He nothing about, I mean, everything about him screams Troy Glaus. Usually there's always those comparables. You're kind of like, he looks like Troy Glaus to me.
The defense too, the dives, the pop up and throw, he does
everything, bodied, everything.
A lot of Scott Rowland in him too. Rowland obviously was Gold Glove. He's not that yet.
Well,
he's not that yet. But those
now.
dives where a big guy you don't think he can dive and pop up like that and still make a throw. But Austin's got a great arm. That's why he's able to make some of those plays.
No, I love him as a player. I mean, I think just as a fan, I want to see. This has been a good year for him, and he had that hot start.
Yeah,
his rookie year. I want to see this. I want to see this season finish strong.
Yeah.
Do it for a whole year, and then come back and be this guy again, and then he'll be on his way
if
to what we
throwing
want.
Errors, the defense will be sound because most of his errors are just throws.
Yeah,
and he's got a great arm.
The throwing errors are the ones that typically they go away as you get older.
Yep.
The more you play, the more you do the throw.
Yep.
I mean, so
he'll
be. That's like I said. If he can continue on this path and play every day and be that guy, that'll clean up quick, and that won't even be an issue.
And DeGrom, by the way, had retired 37 straight guys in the first inning before the leadoff triple by Adrianza. And that was you could call it ballsy or not a smart play for Adrianza to try to stretch that into triple. But again, it was a break that went the Braves' way because that changed everything. You start with a triple. If he starts with a double, DeGrom probably gets out of that inning. But you start with a triple, and there's no room for error at all. And the Braves took advantage of it. But and they overturned it, which they almost never do. They called him out at third and overturned it. So they had some things go their way, and they, their fans would argue that they do that because not much has gone their way. I mean, you got to make your own breaks, I know, but they really haven't got many of those go their way, it seems like.
I know it.
So, yeah, it was a big one. And, of course, Albies had the single to tie in the first inning that after Freddie struck out. So he got it going again. He kept it going. That was his 8th RBI in a 10-inning span.
It's fun. It's fun to be a hitter when you're doing stuff like that.
Yeah. And to be able to hit a DeGrom fastball outside the other way, 100 miles an hour. Whew. And when they show a slow-mo of Austin Riley hitting, like I saw him this morning, D-Row was breaking it down on MLB Network. The dude's got these legs that you can't just build lifting. You build them like baling hay, or you're just born with it, because he's got some big old legs. That dude is country strong. Is the perfect country strong when you use that term.
That's kind of, he's like that's the original. That's what we were talking about before. The way guys were built in the 70s, 60s,
Mickey
70s.
Mantles.
you were a bigger, more athletic, stronger dude than everyone else.
Yeah.
Now players that are the Aussies and the Altuves, you can work your way into these, into these things with just the
Right.
where we've come with nutrition and strength. But no, I actually just pulled up that swing, and you're right. I mean, for that to be that pitch where it was and hit it the way he did, I mean, honestly, that's what's great about that, and what that shows you with him is because he takes these big swings. In the past, he's been a big swing, it just, and that was a recognize, hey man, the only way I'm going to get on top of this ball is to just be short and direct, 100 miles an hour, because DeRom's ball it does this. It looks like it's knees, and it ends what you think is at your chest. And he just stayed on top of that thing, and his big strong dude just hitting a hard line drive that cleared the right field wall. That's a special home run right there. But
the opposite, right down the line, man. Jesus.
He can be that guy. We've heard guys Chipper rave about him. We've seen it. You just with being an everyday player, you gotta find a way to do it every all season, and then follow it up and
stay healthy.
A funny story, we were talking about 4 strikeouts. It reminded me of a funny story when I was with Atlanta still, and we were in San Fran. I think we came from Arizona, and I struck out 4 times in a game. I can't remember if it may have been a young Scherzer that pitched that game, but 4 strikeouts. And we're sitting there talking. It was me, Chipper, Greg Norton, and Norty said something about it, and Chipper was listening. And he's like, I've never struck out 4 times in a game. And he's like, it's 2009 or 8. So how old would he have been? I was 28 or 7. So he was 37, 36, 37.
Yeah.
That night, playing Randy Johnson, who he dominates.
Yeah.
In San Francisco, he struck out 4 times in that same day.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
That's space. That's baseball, right? And it's just, that's why that's me. Someone like me, I'm like, I'm not saying a word. I'm not acting out of line. I'm not acting a fool, because if I'm going to strike out 4 times, I'm going to do it on my own. I'm not going to have baseball karma come and get me.
He's another one of those guys, though, Chipper, that said what he wanted to say, didn't care what people thought, and was himself. So and fourth, what's crazy about him striking out 4 in a game is he never struck out 100 times in a season. That's silly. Ever.
Yeah.
So
that's silly.
And more walks and strikeouts in his career.
Imagine that in today's game.
Doesn't happen anymore. No, doesn't happen. All right. Well, this has been great, man. We really appreciate you filling in for might just tell him that he got Wally pipped, man.
So
that
was awesome.
This is cool. We really appreciate the insight and all that. I know everybody likes the perspective of a guy who's been there, a hitter, and who've been around, stayed around for a while. So thanks for sharing everything, and
love it.
We'll have you again. We'll have you on again soon. But enjoy those North Carolina mountains, man.
I will. You're up there. I will. Enjoyed it, Dave. Thank you. Appreciate it.
755 is real. Thanks, Kelly Johnson. We are out.